Steven, is there any way that fans can get any hope tonight?
I hope so.
Hey there, friends. Welcome on into the PHNX Suns pregame show, of course, brought to you by Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you. At Gila River Resorts and Casinos, visit playatgila.com for more details. You do you, like those of you who are ready to blow it up, those of you who are ready to give up, and those of you who are just locking in for another night in basketball purgatory. Kev, no big deal. Sean, Michael, Leo, Kara, hello to all of you, and welcome in. I'm Eric. That's Steven. Noah is behind the Mac, making all the magic happen. Gerald is at Footprint Center, and Espo is on the brink. The brink of recovery. Espo will be back, per league sources, Saturday.
It's probable for Saturday.
Saturday afternoon. Espo planning on making his return from a nasty bout with the flu. However, for those of you who are missing your daily dose of Espo, him and I do have a Southwest bias that we recorded that will be dropping in your audio feeds and on this channel tomorrow. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. Sean says, notice the lefty wave by Eric. Okay, that's all for the pregame show. Yeah, we're saving that for the postgame show. Steven, how are you doing?
Blessed as always. Excited to watch some basketball, chop it up with the folks in the chat, and put on the show.
I have a question for you.
Depends on what you're asking. I might have an answer.
So there's a lot of talk about being washed going around.
Who?
Well, have you seen the news? Pat Riley addressing allegations of if he's washed by saying maybe I am washed. Does that bode well for Jimmy Butler and the Phoenix Suns and all of this?
It absolutely does. Pat is not in his prime anymore, and I say that with the utmost respect. And that might roll in favor of Jimmy and his reported preferred destination, and his preferred destination is preference to having him on the roster as well in some capacity.
Yeah. Welcome into PHNX Jimmy Butler. That's basically what how could you not though? Could you not be looking at that?
The Suns will never beat the desire to be Miami West if they do attain Jimmy Butler. I will say that. You get Fizz, you got Fizz in the building. Obviously you got James Jones pulling strings from the GM role. And then you add Jimmy on top of all of that.
They stole Derrick Jones Jr. from us. Okay, they took Goran Dragic from us.
You're not wrong.
Okay, maybe they're trying to be Phoenix East.
We went to the finals with Dragic.
We were the original Sunburst logo. Okay, so don't you dare disrespect.
That was not me. I'm just speaking on what's been said. Well, Suns West or Heat West, excuse me.
Well, guess what? Suns aren't playing the Heat tonight.
They're not.
The Suns are playing the Atlanta Hawks tonight, and also the Phoenix Suns are playing the Phoenix Suns tonight. The title of this is can Suns fans give hope or get hope from this game if Phoenix comes out and puts together a cohesive win over Atlanta? Is it at all possible to feel better about this team after one game? Let's say hypothetically they do beat a pretty good Atlanta team tonight.
I mean, any win is a good win. Any win is going to help boost the morale, regardless of who you're going up against. So, for those many reasons, this is why they just need to make it happen. Figure out what needs to be done in this game tonight, finish on the right side of the win column, and then go forward into your weekend of back-to-back games with the slightest semblance of momentum.
So I'm going to ask you a question that I know how you would answer, and then I'm going to address how you would answer and ask a follow-up. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
So I would say, does it really matter how the Phoenix Suns get a win tonight? And I know what you would say is, of course it matters because your process and how you play, it matters.
Nah,
you don't think so?
Dire straits,
just get a win.
Times, when you are desperate, don't matter as long as you get the desired result.
Okay, so what would you say is the number one key for the Phoenix Suns to beat the Atlanta Hawks tonight?
I guess, it's half and half because the defense has been decent, but it doesn't matter if they're not putting the ball in the basket, which is something that we never thought would be an issue for this team. So can you put the ball in the basket the way that you're supposed to? And can you defend to that requisite level as a floor that you know you need to win games? So half and half, and marrying both sides of the court, I'll put it in one.
And you're going up against a team in Atlanta that has a very potent offense. Top 10 in field goals made, top 3 in field goals attempted. And this is a Suns team that's been outshot just from purely attempts by teams that they shouldn't be, right? And especially for a team like Phoenix that has started to fall away from their three-pointer identity. They're still top 10 in 3 points made, but when you watch how they play, the results are by the numbers and everything, you understand that identity they seem to establish early on, and even Grayson Allen talked about that earlier, and we'll get more from Grayson Allen later in the show. But they've kind of fallen away from that. You need offensively to be able to match an engine of Trae Young, who by himself is a walking offense. Yeah.
Literally, that's what he does. That's who he is. Pick and roll he's one of the best to ever do it. He's one of the most efficient and effective to ever do it on top of that. And he combines the ability to make any pass in pick and roll with also being able to score in any capacity in that. Pull-up threes, middies, teardrops that look like teardrops that are actually alley-oop passes. Vice versa, he makes that split-second decision better than anybody else in the NBA right now. And the team knows how to space around them. I'll definitely, while speaking to Trae Young, I want to take some time to mention how great of a job Quinn Snyder's done with the Atlanta Hawks since he took over. They don't have elite level talent, but they've developed the skills of the players they have in-house, especially the younger players over the last season and a half. And he's shifted things for them offensively. Yes, pick and roll is still their premise, it's still their bread and butter, but it looks different. They manipulate space a little differently, and it just makes the margins in their pick and roll that much easier to manipulate for Trae Young.
And this is what Grayson Allen said internally for the Phoenix Suns on how they get back on track.
What do you feel like you guys need to do in order to get back on track? That's a broad question.
Yeah. Score, get stops, have some fun, win games. Like winning will fix a lot of things for us. We gotta win. Figure out a way to win. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Figure out a way.
And is there a reality where if you go out tonight and let's say you do find a way to shut down Trae Young, Ryan Dunn, right, can insert his force there, do you feel like there's a way where internally the Suns might just be able to start stacking after that? Like, this isn't beating a Sixers team without Joel Embiid, right? This is beating a good Atlanta Hawks team, and they're not world beaters. They're not the best team in the East, but with the way the Suns are playing, like, Atlanta's a pretty tough task.
Yeah, I say this respectfully, but every team is a good team going up against the Suns right now. They're not in any capacity to be looking past opponents or looking at people or teams as if they're less than, because the level that they're playing at is so far below where everyone else is right now. They have to work up. So every game should be treated as if they're the underdogs, and Atlanta should be respected as such. So a win against anybody is meaningful and impactful for where they're trying to get back in alignment with.
Well, you mentioned underdogs. Let's just go ahead and jump straight to the line from our friends over at Bet365. Let's see what they have to say about who's the underdog tonight and who is the favorite. Right now, Phoenix, -6.5. I'm going to assume that's going to be a +200, not a +2,000. That's great value. Great value. Whoa. Bet365, that must be a boost. I'm assuming +200 is what that is supposed to be, -245 for your Phoenix Suns. With Atlanta, technically, being the underdog here tonight, does that surprise you?
It does. Me and Noah spoke about it pregame to the extent that he thought it was a typo or an error. And I was like, nah, I think it is too. So, but it clearly hasn't shifted. They think the Suns are the favorites for tonight. And needless to say, I'm surprised by that because I didn't feel like they would be the favorites in this game. regardless of who might be in or out the lineup for Atlanta.
And that's the thing, right? And let's take a look at the injury report. And maybe this is going to lend a little bit as to why Phoenix is going to be the favorite. You see 4 players out for Phoenix. 3 of those are your G League two-way contracts: Jalen Bridges, Ty Washington, Colin Gillespie. The only player genuinely in your rotation that's out is Royce O'Neal, who's out with that left ankle sprain. Over for the Hawks, I mean, the big one is Trae Young is available. I'm not sure if we have an update on Bogdan Bogdanovic yet, but he's questionable. He's available. Onyeka Okongwu is available. Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson, who's playing really good basketball this season, is out with right shoulder inflammation. Larry Nance is out with a fractured right hand. Kobe Buffkin and Cody Zeller, the Kobe and Cody combo, are both out as well. That could definitely play into it. Jalen Johnson, big, young wing that can basically be a threat to get a triple-double at any occasion. So without Jalen Johnson, who are you looking at from Atlanta to kind of step in and fill that role against a team like the Suns, who does have trouble guarding some bigger wings?
That's the tough part because they don't have a lot of wing defense. Their wing defenders are Dyson Daniels and Jalen Johnson.
But Dyson Daniels kind of defends for 2.
He's 2.5. That's very true. But the issue is when you're going up against a team like the Suns that have a big 3 and 2 of those 3 are on the floor more often than not together, if he's guarding one, then who's going to guard the other? And that's where things can kind of get dicey for them. No pun intended with Dyson Daniels, but that's just kind of the luck of the draw with where their roster is right now. They'll be depending on DeAndre Hunter to do a little bit more, though, defensively. I know the defensive side is not where he has pushed all of his cards in terms of where his skill and what the things that pop off in his game are, but he's going to have to defend to a certain level for them to get a win in tonight's game against the Suns.
Yeah, Dyson Daniels, and I'll have him in my bet later as a little teaser, is going to be a menace out there. If you have not watched Dyson Daniels play, then get ready to learn turnovers because somebody said he's going to pick Katie's pocket 4 times.
Nacho, that was off the top of the dome, man.
SPG is always off the top of the dome. We got my dad in the chat asking if there's any chance that there's a trade soon. I feel like a trade is liable to happen at any time. It could be a last-second buzzer beater like the Kevin Durant trade was. It could be one that's done weeks before the deadline. Grayson Allen talked about whether trade rumors can take a toll on a team like the Suns, who are at the center of so many.
A little bit, like maybe guys individually. Again, like this is one of those things, like winning fixes everything. And if we were winning games, a lot of stuff going on would be a lot easier. I know as a collective, we don't talk about it, we don't focus on it. So it is what it is from that standpoint. But we just have to focus on what we got and trying to win games.
Focusing on what you got and winning games. It can get complicated when you're compiling losses after losses, loss after loss after loss. But mixing in at least some wins helps to break some of that up. Obviously, wins don't come without flaws either, but they're a lot less loud when you're handling your business in some capacity, and they're not handling theirs at all. So because they're not, the weaknesses and the flaws of the roster are just growing more and more amplified to the point where, it's hard to even talk about a positive with this team with the way they've been rolling on the negative side lately.
Well, if I were to ask you what a positive for this team would be, would you have anything to tell me?
I would start with Ryan Dunn.
Then let's start with Ryan Dunn.
Well, the fact that he's starting, for one, is a big thing. I didn't know if he would be put in that position with the way that this roster was compiled coming into the season, but the way that things have trended and the way that he's kind of streamlined at a certain level, I feel like it's a good time for him, and I think it's a good time for the team to lean more into all of his strengths because they balance the things that they don't have anything else to replicate on the roster. And he gives them a lot of what they've been missing in terms of point of attack defense and allowing for everybody else to be organized defensively around that when you have someone that can just do their job so consistently that it keeps everybody else's roles where it needs to be. And in addition to that, with Ryan specifically, I think you see on the other side of things for the Hawks, somebody that's at that next step where he could be maybe even next season, and that's Dyson Daniels. because Dyson does a lot of things on the court that are akin to what Ryan Dunn leans into for his strengths. Point of attack defense, tons of activity. Quinn Snyder has a defensive baseline for the team, but no different than Mike Budenholzer lets Kevin Durant or Devin Booker go off script and play off instinct. That's the same way that Dyson Daniels is deployed by Quinn Snyder. I think Ryan Dunn gets to that point soon, and I think the Suns need him to be in that space to be able to just play off of instinct. I know my rotation might be there, but let me go do this because I feel like this is going to keep us in a defensive advantage. Little things like that I think are where he can kind of get to soon.
Well, and that's what the best defenders do, right? Really good defenders always know where they're supposed to be. They stick to the script and they do their job well. Mm-hmm. The great defenders do the things that nobody else would have thought of. Like Draymond does some crazy things that other defenders would not think of. It's just a feel. It's an instinct. And Ryan Dunn definitely has that. I think a little bit Oso Ighodaro has that as well. Do you want to see more Oso tonight against this Atlanta team that does have a pretty decent center rotation?
I don't care who they got at center. The way the Suns' center rotation is set up right now, there's no reason why Oso shouldn't be getting close to 20 minutes on average a night at this point. And I know that's going to come at somebody else losing minutes, but no other center on the roster is playing better than him right now. So lean into your rookies. I know it's not the expected role for them. Lean into them. They're giving you tons of positives on the defensive side of the floor where you need it worst. And see how much you can get out of them before the trade deadline
Would you
comes.
start them? Because tonight it's Tyus, Book, Dunn, Durant, Plumlee.
Honestly, I would. And my parameters for why I would start Oso are a little different than kind of some of the discourse on Twitter or whatever. I think the Suns need to shift their philosophy a little bit defensively. That's a whole nother topic for another podcast, but I think that there are ways to go about starting Oso Ighodaro to where some of his defensive inefficiencies, mostly pertaining to size, can be offset a lot. And you can kind of cover up for his weaknesses while still getting everything that his strengths present.
So we're having a great conversation. I want to keep it going. We are going to keep it going. I appreciate everybody joining us here for this pregame show before the Suns take on the Hawks. I want you to make sure you hit that like button and that you're subscribed and you come back here for our postgame show as well. I have to address what's going on in the chat.
I don't know what's going on.
Do you want to know what's going on? Apparently, my dad is Nacho. Apparently. Because my dad jumped in the chat and said Benchley Beal. And then Nacho was like, good one. And now everybody is saying, we haven't seen Nacho and my dad in a room at the same time. And so now that's all completely taking off. So you could have woken me up this morning and said, hey, just so you know, people are going to say that Nacho's your dad. And I'd be quite shocked, quite surprised.
That's wild. I can't imagine Eric's pops with a tablet and a laptop commenting in the chat right now, talking to himself, and I can't see it.
Yeah, I did. He did say Benchley Beal, though, so I don't know. Maybe it is all true, and I'm just going to be the last one to find out. I'm just too close to the situation. Ashley says,
not on the bingo card.
It all makes sense right now. Thank you for joining us, Ashley. Euphoria, Glad Ketchup, great name. King Nacho, of course. Patrick, Exodus, Sean, my dad. Mark, and also Mark, I believe, sent us a super chat. He did. Says Daniels, a $2 super chat. Thank you. Daniels is going to pick Kevin Durant's pocket 4 times tonight. Are you worried about KD's turnovers against? And this Hawks team specifically does force a lot of steals. They're number 2 in steals per game behind Oklahoma City. Of course, Dyson Daniels being a massive part of that, and Jalen Johnson when he's playing. But they do have some length and interior defense as well that's prone to force turnovers.
The main piece that does it is a little bit of Clint Capella, but the one that stirs the pot for their defense is obviously Dyson Daniels.
Yeah.
I mean, that man against the Utah Jazz, which if you didn't see Trae Young's game winner against the Jazz from Tuesday night, 55 feet or whatever it was, just cash on the road and just immediately doing a cold shiver celebration is crazy, diabolical even. But Dyson Daniels, watch him start the game guard, and I think it was Colin Sexton, pretty much finish the game guard and Lauri Markkanen. That is a whole...
That's like a foot. Literally a foot
I was about
difference.
to say, probably a foot and some change.
Yeah.
2 complete different archetypes, 2 complete different positions. They operate on different spots on the floor. And he just excels. He just does his job. So I can see him starting the game, maybe guarding Devin Booker. And then later in the game, he might be guarding Kevin Durant, to Mark's point, which we appreciate the super chat. So I don't know. He might not get 4 steals against KD just because he might be spending time guarding Devin Booker. But that's the only way you'll be wrong.
He might just pick it off when it's a cross-court pass.
He might just.
He's liable to do anything.
Maybe he does 4 on both.
I think it will be really fun, like you mentioned, Ryan Dunn and Dyson Daniels on the floor at the same time. Mm-hmm. That is somebody that if I'm coaching Ryan Dunn, I'm showing him Dyson Daniels. I'm saying there's absolutely no reason why you can't be a player like that around, again, an offensive engine like Devin Booker, right? Like Trae Young does operate and do a lot of different things than Book, but Book and KD can be their own offense, right? You can go and you can be your own defense. Let's see what they're wearing tonight when they take on the Hawks. Chat, I want you guys to drop your score predictions before we get there in a second. But the jersey matchup, you're going with the pretty purples at home against these classic white Atlanta uniforms. I like these Atlanta jerseys. They're not special, but I think they're okay.
Yeah, it's solid. It's nothing crazy like you said. It's solid though.
That's true. All right, let's see what we have as far as our score predictions for tonight. Make sure you drop yours down in the chat and hit the like button right afterwards. Espo continuing to do Espo things, saying Suns by 1. Me, you, and Gerald all going with the Hawks. Me and Gerald are going a little bit more. I'm by 8. Gerald's by 7. You're going Hawks by 2. You think it'll be a close one?
Yeah, they are not healthy for one, and they also play some rather close games. And I think that naturally when you play the Suns, a game is either going to be close or it's going to be a blowout. I think this one's going to be close, and I think it's going to end up coming down to execution and crunch time. The Hawks have an identity. You know they're going to be going to pick and roll with Trae Young, whether it's him with a guard or him with one of their bigs. If the Suns can figure out their offense and figure out an identity in the clutch again, I can see them winning this game, but I think it'll be played close.
Zeke says Hawks by 11. Ashley says Suns by 6. No big deal says it's a big deal. Hawks by 20. That would be insane. At the same time, like with this Suns team, they're liable to get blown out on any night.
Volatile right now.
Almost lost by 20 to the Hawks.
They're volatile.
Right. It's not good. It's not good. All right, let's we already take a look at the line. We did our score predictions. So let's go ahead and look at our pregame bets, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHNX365 when you sign up and find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Disclaimer, must be 21 plus and physically located in AZ. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. Let's see what Espo is putting his money on tonight. A 4-leg parlay for Espo as he's getting over his sickness. As point spread, he's taking the Hawks to cover plus 6.5. Mason Plumlee over 7.5 rebounds. Kevin Durant over 1.5 3-pointers made. And Trae Young over 1.5 stocks coming out at a plus 1,200. How do you feel about Trae Young over 1.5 steals and blocks?
Trae's actually quietly active, but past being quietly active, he's targeted a lot, so the volume of opportunity for him will probably go in his favor. He's good with his hands defensively, getting in passing lanes off ball, but also plucking it away on the ball. I can see him getting to that.
Trae Young's definitely been better on defense than what was written about him, when he first came into the league.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing with Devin Booker. When you kind of get labeled as a bad defender, it's really hard to shake that label. Even if you improve marginally with his size and his build, he'll never be an incredible defender. But being active, like you mentioned, is what you need from a guy like him at his size. I wouldn't be shocked with that either. The 6.5, which I have them, doing, that might be the thing where if the Suns do click for a night, they might be liable to win by more than 6.5. Steven, what are you putting your money on tonight?
I got a couple things in the box tonight.
Just a few.
It's a modest bet. KD for over 30.5 points and assists combined. KD also for that 1.5 3-pointers made, not unlike Espo had. Trae Young's averaging 22 and 12 on the season. I have him getting a double-double in this one. Garrison Matthews is a sniper for them. The Suns struggle to defend three-point shooters, also in pick and roll especially. So I can see Garrison getting to that mark. Dyson Daniels, we already talked about him. All defensive first team for my money this season so far, and I think he'll finish there. 2.5 stocks above that tonight, and I also have Clint Capella getting over 1.5 stocks.
It's a good one. That is a modest bet for you. I decided to not be modest. I decided to get my Steven on with my bet. I went massive. Plus 13,000.
Look at the font. That's like an 8.
Trae Young, over 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists combined. Clint Capella, over 18.5 points, rebounds, and assists combined. Kevin Durant, over 37.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Dyson Daniels, over 2.5 stocks. Both teams to score 50 first-half points. Tyus Jones, 1+ first-quarter assist. Ryan Dunn, 1+ first-quarter rebound. Clint Capella, 2.5+ first-quarter rebounds. And Devin Booker, over 27.5 points. That would net me over $1,300 if I am able to hit that tonight. Let's see where that would send me in the standings as we wrap up this PHNX Suns pregame show. You still sitting at the top. Must be lonely all the way up there in the positive. Plus 104.92. I'm right in the middle, and by the middle, I mean the negative. Negative 33.50. Espo still all the way down there. He might be sick, but he's not sick at betting. Negative 175. Any final thoughts, Steven? Suns, Hawks, pride on the line, hope for the fans. What do you think happens tonight?
I know I said I think the Hawks are going to win this one, but I think this one could be one where the Suns start to get back in alignment with the team that we expect them to be and that they expect to be. Watch out for, with the Suns defense, the basket being wide open. Atlanta is sneaky with how they space their centers and the opposite slotted actions, which puts the opposing team center as far away from the basket and at an awkward angle to try to provide rim protection. Watch out for the little sneaky things that they do on offense to compromise the defense in the paint for Phoenix.
I like what King Nacho is saying. He says, all right, F it. Suns by 10. Dunn goes 4 for 4 from 3.
I'm all for it.
That's a high-five worthy play, if I could say so myself. Wow Factor says Durant needs 30+ points, and we are wrapping up here on the PHNX Suns pregame show. If all of you hit that like right now, we would see it skyrocket. Let me see that happen before we get out of here. Of course, if you're joining us for the pregame show, it's only natural that you come back right after the final buzzer, right here on PHNX Sports, and you watch our postgame show. Win or loss, rain or shine, hope or no hope. In basketball purgatory, we are your tour guides, and we are here after every single game on PHNX Sports. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn notifications on as well to know when we're talking Sun Devils, Wildcats, Diamondbacks, Cardinals, and of course your Phoenix Suns, all right here in one place. Until then, please just try to enjoy basketball.
We all silly like the